Welcome to another interview presented by Alabama Wrestling Forums. I'm Jackson Bast here in the Jubilee City in Daphne, Alabama, and today I'm joined by the head Daphne wrestling coach, the legendary Coach Coach Jefcoat. How are you doing today, Coach?
Doing well.
So let me start off by asking you, what got you into wrestling?
Wow. I wrestled in high school. I had one of the better coaches of that generation, a man by the name of Greg Watts, reached out to me and got me to wrestle. Really enjoyed it. He was a great mentor of mine on the football field and got me into wrestling. Him and a man by the name of Dawson Pratt, who's a legend. Greg Watts was such a team guy. And he's, one of the greatest coaches to ever come through Pinson Valley. And, we won a state championship our freshman year that I was there. And I ended up leaving as a state champion. I won an individual state championship there and went on and wrestled at Carson, Newman College.
So, well, you kind of mentioned what kind of went down in your high school career. Obviously, you were a state champ for Pinson Valley. What led you to Carson Newman?
Man, I tell you, when I went on my visit, there were some guys that I really connected with that are now, legends of the sport. Jeff Bedard was there, and Lazaro Reynosa, Robbie Brown, and just some really good wrestlers. Nate in the hand. I mean, gosh, we had a team of studs back there. Danny Jamo. I'm naming All-Americans guys and national champions, but they were just such a close group. It reminded me so much of Pinson. The school's got such a godly base to it, and that's kind of where I fit in. A lot of guys out there hunted and fished, but also, it had a great Christian foundation, and I was, heavily drawn to that and just the tightness of the team itself.
So prior to the interview, we talked a little bit about you. You went there for 5.5 years, and you were doing that in the 90s, and I've talked to some other wrestlers. I had Jeffrey Bostani, who went to Penn. He was there for the full 4 years, now has a degree at an Ivy League school. What does it take to stay at a university for 4 years in a very unforgiving sport?
I tell you, two things. Number one, you've got to have a true passion. You've got to have a true passion for that sport because, like as a college wrestler, college wrestling's not easy, man. It's a job. And it's not an 8 to 5 job. It's a 24-hour, 365 job. So going into college, unlike a lot of college athletes, I knew walking into college that I was going to be a high school coach. So I was so passionate about wrestling. I didn't know what subject I was going to teach. I didn't know, what field I was going to go into, but I knew at the end of the day, when I graduated, I was going to carry over and become a wrestling coach. And so just that true love of wrestling, And there were times where I was the starter. I went years where I started for the school, and there's a couple years where I rode the bench, but just the passion to get better and to be around other wrestlers and that fraternity that still exists, and that was the key for me, as I was a guy that truly loved wrestling. And a lot of your guys that you see finish, man, they stay in it well after that.
So you mentioned that you've always wanted to be a coach. What kind of made you make that decision that you wanted to be a high school wrestling coach?
I want to answer that two ways, okay? The first thing, and I think it's important to this, I knew I always wanted to be a wrestling coach, all right, as a wrestler. And I knew that from day one. It was in me. I loved wrestling. Would do anything for wrestling. However, I met a guy by the name of Jack Burton and another guy by the name of Mark Snyder and Billy Hughes. Those three guys are legends and my biggest mentors in life. Another man by the name of Paul Moore. And they really taught me what coaching was about. And I was all about winning until I was about 32. And then about 31, 32, I got saved, like truly saved. I was always, raised in church, but I truly got saved around 31 or 32. And just from watching these mentors, people that always worked on me, these godly men always been in my life. After that, I finally became a coach. Even though I coached wrestling up to then, I finally became a coach because they helped me change my passion from winning to truly helping people and truly trying to raise people to become better people. So yes, I coached until I was around 32 years of age. But the coach I am after the age of 32 is quite different than the coach that was before 32, because my whole focus and my whole passion was different. Prior to then, it was about winning. After then, it was about helping people become better people and using the sport of wrestling to do that. And funny how it works out. I've been far more successful in my career with that being my passion than winning being my passion. So I don't know if that answers that question, but that's the answer I have. I got to roll with guys like Matt Hicks. Matt Hicks is, man, I personally, he's my guy I look up to more than anybody in the sport of wrestling. We're both about the same age, but we were friends all through school. But I tell you, man, I'll watch guys like Matt Hicks and Mike Pruitt and those guys I mentioned, and I try to soak up everything they do like a sponge, man. I listen to them, Sean Wilson. So sometimes the best thing you can do is shut up and listen. And so when I'm around them, that's what I try to do.
So what made you know that you wanted to coach in the state of Alabama?
There was no question I was going to come back home. No question I want to come back home. I had the opportunity to go back and coach at my former school. And then I've made some other stops along the way in different places. And then I had the opportunity to come down here. But I never even thought about coaching anywhere else besides Alabama. I mean, it's home. There's a lot of us that were from here back in that age that have that chip on our shoulder that Alabama wrestling's getting better, it's going to be good. And so I always wanted to try to grow wrestling in Alabama and make Alabama wrestling better. So, that's it, man. This was not a place I was ever going to be.
So, like, you've coached for close to 25 years now.
Right.
I think you were 23, maybe a year or two ago. So you're close to 25.
Right.
And you've coached numerous places. I know you mentioned Vincent Valley, St. Clair, Leeds,
Fort Payne.
I didn't know about Fort Payne, but
Yeah.
Moody.
Won a red trophy there. Yeah.
And Daphne. I mean, you coached at so many places, and I don't know, a bigger part of your career was your son.
Right.
And your son.
My two sons.
Your two sons.
Right.
Okay. So how many schools did you go to with your first son? Did you stay between one school, or how many schools were you?
So, all right. So I've got, my wife and I together, we go by Team Jefcoat because that's what we are.
Mm-hmm.
We've got 6 kids together. I've got 2 and she's got 4. And, our kids are our kids. There's no step, / whatever, half. They're our kids. And so I have had Will and River through wrestling. And, being a coach my first year, I had them at St. Clair. And then spent 2 years at Leeds, and then their senior year we were at Moody, and they've all progressed and done well. My son River, he didn't even start for me at Moody. I mean at St. Clair, and his finals match is the one that locked up our state championship when he became state champion at Moody. My son Will, they've all placed every year, but I'm super proud of them, man. I'm super proud of them, and they continue to have success now after their high school careers, now running a club team, just helping young kids from Fairhope, Spanish Fort, and Daphne right now.
So, those kids, they moved around a lot with you.
Right.
You moved around, and what do you have to tell a kid that, your two sons, what do you have to tell them that, we're constantly moving? How do they keep their head on straight?
That was it. I mean, we were the team within the team, so that's it. And we spent hours of just training ourselves and working together. And, most of their, we did so much, and then they were so tied in with Ironclad, with Jake Elkins, too, as well. So proud of everything he's done, and he had such an impact. So, how clubs are. Club kids, they're from everywhere. And so these kids, my sons, they trained year round. So they're club kids as much as they were with their school team kids. So, that club team, it stayed constant, and that was kids from Leeds and Moody and Alexandria and everywhere else. And so, us changing schools, they would buy into whatever program because they had already bought into me. And so it was the culture of my culture. It didn't matter what school it was the same culture. So nothing really changed from them other than the uniform, you know. But there was great people at every stops, and we had reasons to leave at every stop. Nothing negative towards any of those places, but you know, it just kind of happens in coaching. But I think that what helped them was the fact their culture never changed. Even though we would change where we are, the culture was the same. And then they had that culture from their club. And I think, you know, I'll say it right now. I mean, the job that Shad and them do out at Thompson with Warrior Wrestling, the job that Jake Elkins does out at Ironclad, I mean, that's helping Alabama grow. And there's other great clubs popping up, you know, over in Wetumpka and other things. I think club wrestling is the key to grow our sport. And I'm so thankful for all these clubs that are out there that are doing that, you know.
So obviously after you went to Leeds, you went to Moody where you coached for 2 years. And in your first year there, you won a team title.
Well, the kids won a title. Yes, they won a title.
So
it was the first state championship ever at that school in any sport. But there was already a good foundation. I mean, we had Corey Land. You had Danny. Was an absolute stud. You know, you had Rashad Clark. We had just such a good base already there. And then when you added Will and River to the mix with those hard-working kids, you know, Parker Dodd, Tristan Manley, the Moores, I mean, it was it. So you had your really good core of athletes that were in the finals, but then you had that other crew of kids that just worked and grinded, and they all bought into teams so much. And I think that's what led to our success and what led to that state title. And just being able to beat a very good Arab team. I mean, you know, I tell you, that was something about that state championship. You know, you had Coach Statham, who was still at Scottsboro, who finished third. And Danny Vasquez beats a stud from Scottsboro to beat Scottsboro. When he did that put Scottsboro, you know, behind us. And then you had River, you know, win that final match against to win his state championship that let us beat Arab. That's the first time I've ever beaten Arab, period, in my career, beating Mike Pruitt's Arab teams. So I mean, that's a heck of a way to do it. But I mean, it was a great experience. It was perfect for our family. I mean, my sons went out on top. Our team went out on top. And what a great first year to have there with such a community of a wrestling family of such good people. You know, it was a great experience.
Well, you answered my question. What did it feel like to win that title? And I know that there were a lot of things, of course. I'm going to keep calling him Sage. River had him winning it, and then, of course, your son making the finals. I know your son was not, you know, keyed up and all the things to make it to the finals, and that was a big swing for you guys.
Yeah, you know, if you go back and look, Will was generally ranked number one in the state at some point. Mm-hmm. He ran into some major injuries, and he wrestled through some major injuries. And I battled that, you know, him being a coach's kid, he felt such responsibility. You know, his junior year, he wrestled with a complete dislocation in his upper foot. He had to have reconstructive surgery as soon as state was over. Everybody's like, well, he just quit shooting. Well, yeah, he couldn't hardly walk, but he ended up finishing fourth. I'd really liked his chances that year if he hadn't got hurt. His senior year, you know, he was undefeated, and then he tore a growing muscle. And he had to sit out for 4 weeks without practice and got released 2 days before sectionals, goes to sectionals, and gets the flu during the sectional tournament. And comes back with 1 week of practice and places second state, you know. But, you know, that's just his walk. And you know, and wrestling doesn't promise you sunshine and rainbows. It just teaches you how to deal with the adversity. So I'm proud of them both. I'm proud of all those guys, man. You know, and I'm proud of all my teams. I mean, my teams at Leeds. We didn't win state championship there, but I mean, those kids were champions, man. They worked their tails off, and that's all I can ask for a kid. Give me all you got. Learn the things in life to be successful. Make yourself a better person, and man, I'm happy. So,
of course, we were talking prior to the interview that you, Corey Land just won, you know, the world silver medal, and what was it like to work with a kid like Corey Land?
Look, man, I tell you, that whole crew with Corey Land and Danny and Rashad and you know, Ryan Summerlin, I mean, those guys are special. That whole crew was special. Corey, I tell you, the biggest thing I want to say about Corey Lynn is this. Nothing was given to Corey Lynn. Everything he does, he earned. He earned every bit of it. So, to me, I tell people wrestling's the ultimate bank, and I mean that. You're only going to get out of our sport what you put in it. And when I tell you Corey Lynn puts all the work into what he gets out of it, he deserves everything that comes his way. He's worked for it. And he works at a level, a training with purpose is what I always refer to. You got to train with purpose. There's no wasted purpose in the way he trains. And, the fact I was a small part of that, it means a lot to me. But, I think the biggest reason why Corey is who he is, I think a lot of it has to do with his brother Michael. Him and Michael Lynn have a special bond. When your brother's as talented as he is, I think the biggest thing he learned from Michael was work ethic. You have that work ethic among brothers. You have a great club coach in Jake Elkins that's kind of, been there for him from step one. And then the fact I was able to help him in some way the years I was with him, it's just an honor. I would consider it an honor to have Corey there. Yeah, everything he gets, he deserves, man. He deserves it. He really does put in the work.
So, of course, after your time at Moody, you decided you're going to make the move down to Baldwin County at Daphne High School. Why did you make that move?
Well, there's some family things that went on that really benefited our family greatly. This was a great opportunity for me down here, of course, but there's some doors that were opened up for my wife, who has followed me everywhere I've been, and she had some really good career opportunities down here as well. And so when you put everything together, it was definitely the right thing to do. And, looking at it a year later, I would do it all the same. It's definitely the right move for me and my family. Since we moved down here, we bought 100 acres. So needless to say, we really like it. And it's just, man, God has blessed me and my family. I'll tell you, that's the only thing I can say, man. I felt that this door was opened. There were some opportunities presented us down here that we just couldn't pass up. And, because we actually took that step, I think, we've been rewarded. Yeah, I'm really happy to be here, Daphne.
Obviously, you've been down here for a year, and you've talked to a lot of the coaches that are around here. And within the last 5, 6 years, Baldwin County and Mobile County have had an absolute boom in wrestling, and a lot of them, don't just come down here for their family like you did. A lot of them, I'm not 100% sure what reasons they would come down here. What are some of the, what do you think caused such a ginormous boom? Like before, I want to say 2015, there were no schools in Baldwin or Mobile County that had any wrestling.
Well, I think most of the coaches down here are people that are true wrestling coaches. I think that's something to think about. Even in Birmingham and other places, you have coaches that are assigned to wrestling. Down here, a lot of the coaches that coach down here are really talented wrestling guys. You've got Jason Heath, who was my assistant for years at Pinson and was with Billy Hughes at Fultondale. He does a tremendous job down at Fairhope. He's a really good coach. He's a under-the-radar, extremely talented coach who's been doing this for a long time. You've got Coach Slater at Foley. He does a tremendous job. He's from up north. You got the Coachman brothers down here. You got Jordan, just came down here this year. Man, I'm just telling you, got Britt Shaw, who's out at Gulf Shores, who, he was a main cog in that Arab train. He's such a talented coach. There's just, that's it, man. The coaches down here, just the ones I just named, man, are extremely talented coaches, man. I like being the fact that I can throw my name in with those guys, man. They're so talented, and they're such good people, and they love wrestling. JT Gosnell loves wrestling. It's just a lot of guys down here that are true wrestling guys, and I think that helps. I think that's why it's grown, because I think people down here can see the true passion in the people here that are trying to grow that sport. And the fact that it's real. It's not somebody that's just doing wrestling. These are true wrestling people trying to grow the sport of wrestling down here.
So this year you won a girls' title in the very first year that we've had a girls' wrestling championship. And we talked before, you did it with mostly junior high girls.
Yeah, the girls won the title. I tell you, like I said, in this, I mean, I know his name's gonna pop up on this thing 100 times. Like Matt Hicks says, I haven't won anything. I haven't won anything since I stepped off the mat. These kids win it, man. These kids win it. And but yeah, we did it with mostly junior high girls, man. I mean, seriously, they just came and they were hungry and they were wanting to work. They had a real good leader. Kaylee Holder did a real good job. She's kind of the anchor of our team. But then you had like Ellen Lassier. We had a girl named Sage Adams that unfortunately is going to be moving. Her dad's military, and he's a stud, and she was a stud too. But she's moving on. But we got like Khalees Hill. I could go name a bunch of girls for you that you might not know right now, but Khalees and Jenna and Sophie. We've got about 6 or 7 girls, man, that really work. Hannah McNeese that really put in the work. That I'm super proud of what they did last year, but I'm looking so forward to what's going to happen this year. Seeing the work these girls put in, they just buy into hard work, you know. And I'm very proud of our girls program. I'm very proud of our guys program. Yeah, man, I'm very blessed.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
Thank you.
what does it mean for the program? Obviously, Kaylee Holder went to Fargo, North Dakota, and wrestled at the U.S. Marine Corps, a giant long name, Fargo.
Yeah.
And she made it to the blood round. What does something like that mean for the girls' program here at Daphne?
I tell you, so everybody was looking at what Kaylee did there, but everybody's super proud of her, man, 'cause she puts the work in. But back home, we had 6 girls showed up to practice every day, working to get better themselves. So the future's bright. Yes, Kaylee is, knocking down walls for these other girls to step through later, and they're coming. So we're super proud of Kaylee. We're super proud of her work ethic, and kind of she's the carrot that these other girls are chasing. And so, and they're coming. I tell you, we got some girls that are coming. But yeah, man, Kaylee's, nothing surprises me what she does, man. She puts in the work.
Well, Coach, before I let you go, is there anything you want to say to my viewers?
Yeah, if you have a child that's thinking about wrestling, I strongly encourage you to let them do so. This sport offers so much for young people, both guys and girls, to help them grow as people. And, if anybody watching this that's been part of my life and my journey in coaching wrestling, I thank you for everything you've done for me. That's about it.
I do have one more question for you. So obviously you're a very hulking, you look like the Incredible Hulk man. Now
maybe more Incredible Shrek, but I take it as a compliment.
Incredible. So I gotta ask, what's your workout regimen like?
Work out every day.
any special tips or tricks and to getting all that?
Yeah, man. When you've got 2 sons that train as hard as they do, I just want to keep up. That's it. I just want to keep up. The thing about it is, if you're as ugly as I am, you better look good somewhere else. You better have something. You better have a decent looking body to go with ugly face. That's about it.
My favorite picture that's on your Instagram is the one with you by the sign that says "dropping weights." Or is
it's frowned upon, yeah.
something like grunting doesn't make you any stronger.
Yeah. I've never been able to go into a Planet Fitness. But yeah, no, I just, I don't know. I just like training. I always like getting better. And the thing about a weight room, for somebody my age, it gives you an opportunity to get better at something every day. That's the truth of it. I just like to go in and train. And there's some tangibles because the weights can change that allows you to compete. And, I'm addicted to competition. Some people are addicted to drugs. I'm addicted to competition, man. I just like to compete. And so, that's it. But we enjoy it. My sons like lifting together. My daughters lift with us. Our whole family trains. I've been blessed, man. I tell you, man, I've been blessed.
Well, thank you so much for joining me together, Coach. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay cool. I've been wrestling.